So JavaScript, which every browser worth talking about has, is really more Lisp than Java, except it's Lisp that looks like C. So JavaScript is a functional language. I'm just assigning this function to a variable called q. I'm assigning the square root function to the root variable. It runs basically everywhere. It runs on phones, computers. I guess that's everywhere. The syntax here doesn't look too bad, but whenever you get to really complicated objects and functions, it gets kind of gnarly. There's a lot of stuff extra binding you have to do, which is one of its weird ways that JavaScript treats this, the way JavaScript treats taking variable numbers of arguments. And this slide actually spells out forge for a good reason. So this is what CoffeeScript looks like. So over here I'm saying math is an object. Root takes the math square root function, square takes the square function, and cube is a one-argument function that is x times the square of x. This function notation is different from JavaScript, obviously. What I like about it is there's no word function in there, and it reminds me a lot of Erlang's function representation. So just like HAML and SASS, it's indentation-based. The function definitions are a lot simpler, and the loops and conditionals are also really simple. So this is a for each loop. This is a for each loop with an if condition. And then this is a if the first asteroid overlaps the second one, like this. And this is the JavaScript components too. You still see all the variables here. It's passing back and forth a lot of references just to make sure that the different browsers treat it correctly in case you modify any of the entries. The isn't condition comes down here. The overlap check is right here, and the actual explode part is right there. So and this is where it's a big win over JavaScript, is it's 3 lines versus 10 lines. And it's not a JavaScript framework. So this is some jQuery aware CoffeeScript. And since it just compiles to JavaScript, jQuery doesn't know any difference. So here's the backend code that I had at the beginning, converted into CoffeeScript. So up here, I'm doing all this binding stuff to the functions to make sure they have the correct this object. And in CoffeeScript, you use equals greater than to define that function. And then it goes ahead and adds the bind for you. Up here, I'm doing a bunch of arguments for variables on this object. And in CoffeeScript, you just use the @ variable name, like you would for a instance variable group. So there's a disclaimer on the CoffeeScript website that it's still in beta, it hasn't hit 1.0 yet. So there's no guarantees that the CoffeeScript you write today will run tomorrow. I know some people who've gotten bit by that for work projects. But for hobby stuff, and if you keep the old version of CoffeeScript around, it's pretty safe to use. It's harder to install than HAML and SASS because there's the Node.js environment that it runs in is pretty new, and Node.js, it's a programming language, and it's now self-hosted, so the compiler for CoffeeScript is written in CoffeeScript and just compiled down in JavaScript for Node to run. So on Mac, if you have the homebrew package manager installed, you tell brew to install CoffeeScript, and it'll go out and fetch Node and all the parts that CoffeeScript depends on. For Windows, this was the most recent guide I found at bit.ly/coffee for Win. I haven't tested it, so I don't know if it's as good as, or if it's the best way to do it. There's 2 ways to build CoffeeScript. Now, unlike HAML and SASS are always at build time, but since CoffeeScript's compiler is written in JavaScript, what you can actually do is inline the CoffeeScript in your page, saying that it's a CoffeeScript CoffeeScript and not JavaScript, so that the browser doesn't try and run and freak out. And then later on, you pull in the CoffeeScript compiler that then compiles this into JavaScript and runs it inside the browser. Otherwise, you just run the copy program to compile your CoffeeScript. Any CoffeeScript questions?
How does it express closures?
It seems that Russian lots of
Okay. But yes. Okay. So what Ed was asking is how to express a function or closure in CoffeeScript. And that's the little arrow sign right there. So you do the arrow and then you either put the whole function on the same line or just one indent on the lever.
So a variable declaration within that function
So
that wasn't exposed. So
yeah.
the function
Okay, so right here. So this is a event handler for click on navigation class objects. So what you're doing in here after you close the menus is you say the $sign of this goes to the current nav local variable, and then you call the add class method on it. Now since CoffeeScript knows that this variable hasn't been declared outside of this function, it just assumes that you want a local variable right here.
also does this help for you?
Yeah.
Does it move all of the declarations to certain items and functions variables to the top of?
Yeah, so down here in these loops, I'm basically saying each asteroid gets set to the roid at one point, and it moves the roid declaration out of the loop. And then it assigns the references, and it goes and caches the length in the length variable, and down here caches it in the length too. So it turns this for each loop into just a regular for loop.
if the variable is say it's a local variable, there, how would you call another variable that's like change the scope like this variable versus
So for example, if there was like outside these loops, if there's another variable named, okay, so if you had a roid out here, and then if you did the for roid in, that's remind me after and I'll ask the compiler. Some more CoffeeScript questions?
So when you say it's built into Node.js, Node.js is just
Node.js is just used to run it locally outside the browser.
Node.js does that mean it's with the V8 JavaScript engine with Node.js? Node.js is just the JavaScript library. Is it a runtime?
Well, I guess it does use the V8 runtime with the Node.js, file access classes. I just know that it depends on if you already had the Node.js and Node package manager, you could install CoffeeScript with that. And then I think the brew command also depends on Node.js. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what parts of Node.js it's using, because if it's like if the compiler somehow builds onto the event queue architecture,
yeah,
Node.js,
that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it might make sense if it was made it super fast to build it in a event queue style compiler.
But also looks like it does run in the browser.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It should just be regular .NET.
Yeah, I think it is regular JavaScript. It's just Node has a big community behind it, or a lot of noise behind it right now.
So they're just piggybacking on Node.js bugs in order to manage it, even though
It
we
works.
could just like run it as JavaScript.
Yeah.
It's just when HTML is finally starting to assume what script you were using. There's another.
So the two topics that are left are Rake and Charleston.